the channels in the cell so the sugar can enter inside the cell, because that's where you need it, right? The cells are powered by sugar, right? So that's where you need the sugar, not in the blood. When it comes to diabetes, your sugar is not really going inside the cells. It's staying in your blood. Guess what it's doing? Your blood circulates everywhere. Now the sugar starts to stick into things, into your nerves, your eyes, your tissues. It doesn't belong there. It starts to harden the tissue. It starts to dysfunction. The tissue starts to dysfunction. So, what are we know now that the sugar is in the blood, and that's basically what diabetes is, and this is now becomes a day-to-day thing, right? It's not just a one time, because of course when you eat, the sugar goes up and then it goes down. If you have insulin functioning properly, the sugar goes down because now it's in your blood, and some of it gets used, some of it goes to the liver, it gets stored that way in between the meals. You have your glycogen, which is your stored sugar, so you can use it in between the meals. And that's another thing I wanted to say, that all this constant eating is unnecessary too. Why are people eating all day? That's another problem, because your body digests the food, you use the sugar, some of it gets stored in your liver and it will be available for you when you need it, so you don't need to be constantly eating. You need 3 to 5 hours in between meals, and we'll talk about that. Do you really need 3 meals a day? Why do we you know what I mean? Like, it's lunchtime. You don't even feel hungry. Why do you need to eat if you don't feel hungry? You know, so we'll talk about that too. So, why isn't the insulin working now? You have resistance, meaning the insulin is not opening your cells for the glucose to enter in. Why is it doing that? So you have insulin resistance, and these are manifestations of, you can already know when you're starting to have insulin resistance. You have obesity. An easy way to tell if you're obese, when you go to clinic and they measure your height and weight and then they tell you your BMI, your body mass index, you don't necessarily need that. If your stomach is starting to protrude, you have obesity. If you have this side, extra fats on your side, that's obesity. So we know that that's happening, and you are becoming insulin resistant, because all the fat is not just sitting there doing nothing. It's messing up your hormones. If you're inactive, of course, there are genes and other things. So when you age, or all that, you have cholesterol issues, any other issues, you can start to see that. So what is really causing the insulin resistance is fat inside the cells. Your cell, there's fat in the body. We have what's called adipose tissue, and it protects our organs, right? From, like in between your organs, you have some fat to protect your organs when they move and stuff. You have adipose tissue under your skin for insulation, like keep you warm and all that. But you shouldn't be having excess fat in the body, and that starts to cause problems. In medical terms, it's called lipotoxicity. Toxic fat, basically, that's what it is. So now you have accumulation of your adipose tissue gets filled up with fat, and the fat starts going everywhere. It goes to your muscles, it goes to your liver, and that is the problem, because now insulin can't work. It's like you just fill that cell with fat. The insulin is not going to work. It's not going to open the cell. The sugar is not going to go in. And people will still be happy, like your body's still asking for sugar, right? You ate all this, you have all this high sugar, but you still feel hungry. And that's one of the things diabetic people have. Like, I'm still hungry, my sugar's high, but I'm still hungry. They pee a lot because that sugar that's high in the blood, the kidney gets rid of it, and that just keeps going like that. And so normally what happens when it comes to treatment at the clinic, when you go in and your sugar is high, mostly it's medication. Because sadly, justice will tell you, when we went to medical school, they didn't tell us. And I'm not saying that they're hiding information. I will not say that they're hiding information from medical students and doctors. No, they basically don't know a lot of. They told us, if you're obese, you are sedentary, meaning you don't exercise a lot. If you have genetics, like family history, if you're black, all these things, they will tell you things that put you at risk of diabetes, but they told us, you really don't know what is diabetes. Okay? So when you see a doctor, the doctor goes, oh, I'm so sorry that you're dealing with this issue. Do some lifestyle change, but lifestyle change is not such a big part of, when you get diagnosed. Like, oh, you have this condition. We know what caused the condition, and we are going to reverse the condition. We are going to tell you what to do so you can become insulin sensitive. That's all you need. You need to become insulin sensitive again. So when you see the doctor, what they're doing is they're giving you medications, and these medications act in all these different areas, make your adipose tissue take in more sugar, make your liver stop producing the, sugars or glycogenesis or whatever, produce more, make your insulin your pancreas make more insulin. So this medication work in different ways, and one of those very common ones, metformin, make people what to eat, their appetite is low, many other things you can do to help you lose weight because you're not eating, all that. So this is what they tell you to do. And I've seen this even when people come in with that's what we call hemoglobin A1C. It's more like a number we check of basically just glucose sticking to your red cells, and that gives us an idea how you've been doing the last 3 months. So they look at it and they're like, okay, you have maybe your diagnosis is at 6.5. That number, 6.5% of your red cells have glucose now stuck to them. 6.5 and higher is diabetes now, and a lot of people I see this and it's quite sad. Right off medication. I'm like, why? You don't need medication at 6.5 A1C. You really need to do some things, and So we are medication-driven society, right? So all this medication, and you don't just get metformin, right? You get cholesterol medicine, you get aspirin, you get a blood pressure medicine that's supposed to help protect your kidneys. All this. Now you go from 0 to 3 medicines, and then. Of course, we haven't reversed the problem, and we keep eating the same stuff, filling ourselves with more fat. Guess what? Insulin resistance continues. And your body's making more insulin and more insulin. Guess what? Your pancreas will stop. At one point, it's not really going to do it. Guess what? You need insulin now, you need more medicines. So that problem just keeps getting worse. And most doctors honestly will tell you diabetes is a long-term disease. I've tried to engage some doctors, they don't even want to discuss about it. Like, do you know that this actually happens? Do you know that diabetes can be reversed? They're not interested, or they haven't got that research that has been done. But I will tell you, like, as Seventh-day Adventists, they study us. The researchers study us. You know why? We are such a diverse population. And first of all, we don't smoke or drink, so it's a very ideal population to study. So there is Adventist study. That's one of the studies they used to look, and they noticed that we are such a big spectrum from meat eaters all the way to plant-based, meaning they were doing 100% plant-based. They were vegan, you could say, and the vegans had the lowest incidence of diabetes and the lowest BMI. Lowest weight, the lowest instance of insulin diabetes. So they start to say, wow, okay, this is interesting. So in his clinic, he did a trial, he did a study. He put patients, one on what we call American Diabetes Association diet, so that's kind of the diet that Diabetes Association recommends. And then the other group, he put them on 100% whole food plant-based diet. In just 2 weeks. 2 weeks. These people that were on whole food plant-based diet got off of medicines, some of them. Some dropped half of their medicines. They lost weight. Can you imagine? They reversed the insulin resistance in 2 weeks. So we are now talking months and weeks and years. No, for some people it just happens in days. And this is really what you want to do, not the medication. It is a lifestyle change, and that's what I'm here to tell you, that the medication is not going to solve the problem. And what happens, we already know. I mean, the number one cause of death in the US now is heart attacks. Guess what the number one cause of heart problems is? Diabetes, right? they actually did a study. 28% of our youth, of our young people, are pre-diabetic. 28%. That number has exponentially gone up. I see kids in my clinic. They're A1C. They're pre-diabetic. They're teenagers, right? They are showing that in the year 2030, 1 in 2 adults in America will have diabetes. 1 in 2, right? So, and this is easy for us. I mean, it's not as easy because it's a cultural thing, right? We are brought up, and especially coming from home. I remember growing up I'm eating this poor people's food, kale and corn, and potatoes. It's like, I'm gonna work so hard, I'm gonna study so hard so I can get a good job and be able to eat butter and meat and chicken whenever I want and all this. As soon as I finished my high school, so we went to Pathfinder Camporee, and then that's really when the health message got to me. I was like, oh. Then I started reading more about it. I went back home, I told my parents, I'm not eating any animal food, no milk, nothing. They were like, what is going on? What are you going to eat? So that's where it started. It started in 2001. But then I didn't transition completely to plant-based. To 2007, completely dropped everything. I even had my kids on plant-based diet. I mean, everything worked out super fine. It's not like I didn't even have milk to breastfeed them. I had so much. Like, it was just like, what are you talking about? I need milk, and I need eggs, and I need all this meat. So it was, for me, it has been a personal experience too, going through this. And my weight right off, like after I had the kids, just comes off without even much of exercise. And we'll talk about that, because exercise is super important too. But we really cannot exercise and think that we can still, eat this bad food, damaging food, and exercise will fix the problem. It will not. So it has to be with fixing our plate first. And the food we eat affects your hormones right off when you eat. Have you noticed this? If you eat like a high-fat food, you feel like you want to sleep right away. So people have really told me this, like they feel drained, like they want to just take a nap. You know why? All the fat in that food goes into your blood and it thickens your blood. It increases the viscosity, we call it in science. It makes your blood thicker, and your blood you don't get enough oxygen to the brain. And you want to sleep, want to take a nap. You can imagine the effects of this diet are right away. You feel them right away, and then it changes to your, because your chemicals, there's all kinds of inflammation that happens in the body. It changes your genes, how your genes get expressed. It starts to change your genes. And this is how people, start getting cancer, because now you're eating food that activates your cancer genes, right? Can you imagine drinking all that milk with all those hormones that what does to your body? It activates all these cancer genes. And the body fights the cancer. It's not like we don't have cancer cells in the body. We have cancer cells, going on all the time, but the body fights it. But if you're making more cancer cells than you're fighting, and you're eating all these foods that's not promoting, killing this cancer, guess what? The cancer is going to win. Right? So, avoiding all these complications and being on and the patient don't even think of it. Patient don't even take the medications every day, even if they're on medication. Tell me. It's super hard. And then, as I said, it hasn't resolved the problem. It's more medicines, side effects, all kinds of things. Sorry, Nate. Your job is in end.
Yeah, I need to find a new job.
So we are going to the problem is intracellular. So in science we're calling it intramyocellular lipids. So that is where the problem is. It's fat inside the cell simply is causing your insulin to be resistant, and that's the solution, right? And you know that. Where is the fat coming from? I'm sorry. The fat, number one source of fat is animal food, hands down. Anywhere. I mean, everywhere. But you all know it's not even just here. It's back home. I see people when they post their food, and I'm like, I thought we are poor country. Like, how do people afford to eat so much meat, so much chicken, so much eggs and milk? My own family, they have cows. They have 5 cows in the homestead, and I keep telling them, I'm like, you all think that the fact that you're not eating meat every day, that you're better off. You're not better off, but you're consuming at least 2 cups of milk every day. And you know, back home, it's not like they're consuming low-fat milk. No, they're drinking, they milk the cows, they boil it and drink it. And they get this milk cow disease that they get, and I'm like, what is going on? And it's part of their lifestyle. They sell the milk to take their kids to school. So it's part of the culture. It's so much in the culture. And they have chickens that make eggs. So I mean, part of and they eat greens and they eat this, but eggs and milk is part of their life. And people that are well-to-do can afford to buy the chicken and the fish and the meats, as much as they want. So animal food, you know why? Animal food is naturally fatty. There's nothing you can do about it. Of course, the way that they bring it up, if it wasn't like, how do you call it, like free range, more like in the natural environment, it's gonna have more fat, depending on, and that's the big problem here too. These caged cows, and they don't even walk, and they're feeding them all these things. So now that's even a bigger problem. So any animal food is gonna be with fat. I'm sorry. And in the Bible, we can see even in the Bible, eating fish and all that. When you compare your plant food and animal food, even fish is high in fat compared to like your beans. So you're still gonna get fat from the milk from the fish. Plus, the fish is not even healthier. Can you imagine what they're doing now with aquaculture? A small area with fish? Is that how fish are supposed to grow? No, it's supposed to be fishing in the ocean, in the rivers, whatever, not in these small areas. So this fat fish, and 80% of our antibiotics are going to these places, because guess what? If one of those fish got sick, they lose. They all die. It's profit. It's money. So they're feeding this fish with all these antibiotics. Mercury is a big problem with fish, so it's not a safe thing either to do. Not eggs. They even did studies. People who say, oh, maybe I eat an egg or 2 a week. Even eating that little of these foods still increases your risk. It's not safe. There's no amount that is safe of this food. So as you eat it, just know it's just, and this is the thing. Because our body is naturally herbivore, is naturally plant-based. That's the problem. When you eat this kind of food, the food have no fiber. There's no fiber in animal food. So you eat it, it takes so long in your system. The others like microbiome, you can change your microbiome depending on what you're eating. Those are why people take like probiotics, prebiotics too. Your gut you don't need probiotics and prebiotics. You need fiber, because fiber is what feeds these organisms, and these organisms do amazing things. This microbiome produce short-chain fatty acids, very strong antioxidants. They regulate the immune system. They produce all these chemicals that regulate your mental health and so many other things. So when we're eating this kind of foods with no fiber, we basically destroyed our gut bacteria, and we're making chemicals that are destroying our body. So our body is naturally not supposed to be consuming this food. So that's your animal food. That's your number 1 source of fat. And this is the thing I want you to know. Fat has no use in the body, so to say. Dietary fat has no use, except it's a dense calorie molecule that is supposed to be used when you're starving. It's a reserve. So what does the body do when you eat fat? Storage, straight away. Nothing. It's not doing anything to it. In fact, they did studies. They can take fat out of your body and they can tell where it came from. It came from pork, it came from fish. It does not change a thing.
Mercy.
Stores it straight. And so what happens, you probably keto diet or whatever. What people are doing basically is making their body burn off the fat by taking away the carbohydrates, because the cells use glucose. If you look at plant foods, there's at least 60% carbohydrates. You know why? Because that's what your body uses. Your body uses carbohydrates as energy. It does not use fat as energy, and your protein is there to repair your body and make hormones and enzymes and stuff. It's not really supposed to be used to power your body. Your body needs carbohydrates. So do not fall for these, I'm just gonna eat steak and vegetables. No. Your body's not supposed to work like that.
Yeah.
So you induce ketosis, and that has its own problems, right? You have increased your intake of protein, intake of fat. People are dying from this keto kind of food. So animal food, your number one source of fat. Number two source of fat is processed foods. So you see all these foods we buy? Chips, fries, and pastries, the cookies, and all these middle aisle kind of foods in the store. They have oils, and you pay attention how much oils that they're putting in salad dressings and pasta sauce and all this stuff that we buy in the middle aisle. Just pay attention. We are getting fat from that. As I say, the body doesn't discriminate the fat where it's coming from. It's fat, it's getting stored. You have no control over that. Number three, of course, and those foods have butter. You can imagine all the butter that they're putting in those foods. Pastries, your cake, and all the other stuff. So butter is coming from animals. So that animal food, in fact, I would say the most animal food that is found in your food generally has to be coming from milk. I would say. It has to be milk. It's butter, it's yogurt, ice cream, everything. Look at the foods, whey and casein. You look at all different foods, they always have these milk product in them. And that's a big problem. Because I will tell you again, the protein in the milk, casein, protein in the milk, when you eat it, it's a bigger molecule. We also, mother's milk make casein, but it's not as big as the casein from the cow milk. And when the body sees this, it's foreign. It forms antibodies against this protein, and that has been linked to causing type 1 diabetes in kids. It has been linked to causing thyroid disease because the body now forms these antibodies that starts to attack the body tissue. So it's not just like, oh yeah, it's casein, and then people work out and they have all these whey proteins, all this stuff, So that's another source of fat. Number 3 source of fat, refined oils. I know we love to cook our food with oil. I do too. And I'm cutting down now a lot because it doesn't matter, it's olive oil, whatever it is, because we think it's better. It's oil.
Yeah.
Oil is the only food that gives you 100% oil, right? It's oil, it's pure oil. They extracted the oil from the original plant or whatever, and now you have pure oil, nothing but oil, right? And you deep fry your food in this kind of thing. And this is the thing with oil though, that really got me. Initially I was like, okay, if it's calories, maybe I can get around it. We don't know how stable these oils are when we cook them in high temperatures. And one of the cardiologists I was listening to said it's damaging our blood vessels. It causes inflammation when these oils, they are heated up in this high heat, they form free radicals. Free radicals damage the body, they damage cells, they damage genes, they damage. So my thing I'm doing now is instead of like always going for oil and stuff, I use olive oil and I use like extra virgin olive oil to make like salad dressing and marinades and whatever, but I'm really paying attention to that because I'm like, well, if you are really eating healthy food but then you're cooking them in oil and forming free radicals, how healthy is that? They say it's really bad for your blood vessels and for your heart and all this. You can use water, and this might sound like how can you replace your oil with water? You can replace it with water. You don't need oil, but of course you gotta give up your What food do you guys like to fry? We call them in Kenya mandazi. It's made of flour. We deep fry it. It's like cake. It's almost like cake, right? You make the dough with sugars and stuff and puff. The puff is also a big source of oil. So look at how much oil you're using, how much you're frying, because as I will go ahead, we'll talk about what foods you should be eating, and then you're gonna be careful how you cook and substitute oil. You'll be surprised. The key to having tasty food is not oil. It's the seasonings you use, right? The garlic, the ginger, the turmeric, cumin, coriander, nutmeg, all these spices. You know, when I came to America and I looked at the spice aisle, I'm like, what is this? Who uses this? Basil, thyme, oregano. Who uses this kind of stuff? I didn't use it because I didn't grow up using it. But now when I look, I opened up my mind, I'm like, I have to, like, what is going on? When I looked at the recipe, I realized, oh my goodness, these things are the things that make the food taste. And we are making shortcuts because we are frying our food and minimizing the use of those spices should take the space of all these oils and make the food taste good. And of course, salt, and we're going to minimize salt. We don't want to overdo it. And salt is fine. It's not something you want to eliminate completely from your diet, but you use other spices, it's going to add on, the flavor. And sometimes it's trial. Like, you gotta have to try different things, but you gotta be open to learning. Because guess what? As I say, the number one thing that is affecting our health is what we're putting in our body. So why that should be a number one priority. What are we putting in our body, right? So those are the three things. Your animal food, your processed foods. There are people that really survive on those processed foods. I don't understand. You go to those freezer section, ready-made pizza, hot pockets. Those ready, like I'm ready to just in the oven, in the microwave and eat it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's where the oil is coming from. But let me tell you, because this has been said, it's a myth. It's a dietary myth that carbohydrates are bad for you. That's what we need to eliminate. As I said, your body is powered by carbohydrates. You need carbohydrates. And your body does not efficiently turn carbohydrates to fat. It does not. Because for it to do that, fat is a high energy molecule. Carbohydrate is not. For you to turn the carbohydrates to fat, you're putting energy to it to produce fat, and the body doesn't want to do that. And you have seen this in kids. Have you noticed this? When you give kids high sugar food, what they do? They're running around. They're running around. Because the body's saying, I don't want to do this. I don't want to store the extra calories you ate. I want it burned up. And that's why they're running around, because they need to burn off that extra carbohydrates you ate. So don't fall for the myth that the carbohydrates is being turned into fat. A little, because of course we have made all these high fructose corn syrup and all these crazy high calorie sugars. Some of that, maybe the body will be forced to do it, but it does not primarily turn carbohydrates into fat. So the fat is coming from fat, and that's why. So, and then another thing. It's very easy to overeat protein when you're on animal food, right? It's easy. So you eat maybe an egg, and then you eat a steak, and then you eat chicken. That excess protein too is a big problem. You can turn that into carbohydrates or fat to store it, but also what happens, the excess protein is broken down. The body does not store protein. Does not. It has to either convert it to carbohydrates or fat. The body does not store protein. It has to break down the amino acids into carbon molecules so it can store it as carbohydrates. So what happens? All those excess amino acids we are eating, they end up in the kidneys. The high protein diet is causing kidney disease. or worsening the kidney disease. So now you can imagine you have diabetes, which already is affecting your kidneys, and you're eating this high protein diet. Guess what? Your kidneys are suffering. And even you can even have new kidney disease by eating this, because the pressure, all these proteins, amino acids, the kidney has to eliminate day and night, every day. So you can see there, I just have a picture. all that, all this, and all this. And then there's all this. Oh, and I wanted to talk about palm oil. You know why? I actually noticed because I started learning different cultures, and West Africans are big on palm oil. I didn't know that. Not Africans rather, like East Africans are big with coconut. I see. And West Africans are big on palm oil. Let me tell you. All the plant foods are good for you, except these two things. Palm oil and coconut oil.
Mercy.
I mean, you can eat the coconut, it's not going to give you so much saturated fats, but once we have extracted the oils from them and the milk from them, you have, I'm going to show you, let me show you next. Look at how much saturated fats is in your coconut oil. This is 100 grams of fat. And see how much of it, almost all of it is saturated fat. If you compare with something like olive oil, it's 14 grams. So 14 grams, the red is the saturated fat. So saturated fat is the problem. This is what is putting people at risk of heart disease and diabetes. This is the bad kind of fat that, helps the body make low density blood proteins, which is your bad cholesterol. So look at coconut. It's even worse than beef. Can you see? And then palm oil is right there. So that's the problem with palm oil and coconut oil. And as I say, you can eat the coconut itself, but it's all this now when you get the oil out. Canola seeds at the top. That's why people use a lot of canola. It comes from rapeseed plant, vegetable, and it has even better saturated fat profile than olive oil. But I guess they've done more studies with olive oil, and it seems to be the best in olive oil. So you can see that. So what's the solution? We are down to the solution. What do you need to do? It's simple. It's just simple. Just eliminate the food. Eliminate the food. And this is what happens. The moment you get these foods out of your diet, the fat that's already in your cells starts to go away. It does not stay there. It starts to go away. And that, as I say, for some people it's 2 weeks. For some people it takes longer. We are different. As soon as you stop these foods, your body starts to respond. As I said, animal food is not just, we're not just talking about the fat and cholesterol. Animal protein is acidic. It has sulfur amino acids. So there's a difference when you think of amino acids. So you're thinking your protein, the building blocks of protein is amino acids. And there's a different profile of amino acids, plants and animals. And animals have amino acids that have sulfur. When you eat it, it forms acid in the body, sulfuric acid. Guess what? Now you have an acidic environment in the body, and the body cannot be too acidic, whatever. So the body has to buffer that. It has to bring the body into the right pH. Guess what it does? It takes phosphate from your bone with calcium. So now it's leaching calcium. It's taking calcium from your bones to buffer the acids. And now you have a problem because you need calcium. Your skeleton, your bones is what stores calcium. Now you're getting calcium out of your bones, and they tell us drink milk for calcium. Guess what? You have an acidic environment. You're drinking more for this calcium, but you're leaching more out, and you're losing it, right? And this is another reason we get kidney stones. All this calcium going through your kidney. Guess what? That's how you get kidney stones, because the environment is acidic, and you have this calcium and all these things. Now you're forming kidney stones too. And while I'm at that, gallstones, 80%, I forget now the number, but some ridiculously high number of those gallstones is cholesterol. So even gallstones themselves is linked to all this animal food. So getting rid of those foods will, for most people, resolve the insulin resistance and resolve their diabetes, or at least it will prevent you from more medicines and more stuff. But I can tell you that most people will regress the insulin resistant, get off of the medicine. And the thing is not only now, you're not knocking your diabetes out, but you also treating your blood pressure, you're treating your cholesterol, you're preventing Alzheimer's disease. One doctor says, if there's any worse disease you can get is Alzheimer's. Guess what? You're living but you're not here. You lost yourself already. Alzheimer's disease is linked to animal food, saturated fats, destroying your brain. So you're getting all these things, arthritis, even autoimmune diseases. I mean, think right now, there's a silent epidemic going on of fatty liver disease. I deal with this every day in my clinic. I do lab work. The liver looks inflamed. We can't figure out why. We take hepatitis, A, B, and C comes out negative. We check, we do our ultrasound of the liver's fucked. That's what I was saying initially. Once your adipose tissue fills with fat, it starts to go to your muscles and your liver. And guess what? It's not just making you insulin resistant, but your liver becomes inflamed, and years later, you can get liver cirrhosis from this kind of thing. You can get liver cancer from this kind of thing. And it's coming up. It's a silent epidemic, I'm telling you, of fatty liver disease. And not only that, so you're dealing with fatty liver disease. There's another thing that is happening, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Can you imagine how many women are going to be not going to be able to have kids, become infertile, because their hormones got messed up because of all this fat they have, and they have insulin resistance, and they have polycystic ovaries, basically not ovulating every month, obesity, overweight, all this fat. So there's so many, this cuts across so many things, and we're not only talking chronic illnesses, we're even talking about acute illnesses. The immune system, they even did studies. The white cells function decreases when you have high fat in your blood, making it easier to get colds. And your immune system is your surveillance system, right? It's working, not only just to keep off colds and flus, but cancer and other things. So your immune system is not working, it's dampened up because of all this fat. It's not doing its job. So it's so many things that is cutting across, and as I said, God has a remedy, a simple remedy for us. We just have to follow it. And as I said, most people understand this message when you say it. But food addiction, is something real. We love the taste of those foods, and culture. It's a cultural thing. What am I gonna miss out from this? But what are you gonna miss out from being sick? And missing out, because one doctor said, I'm not doing this because I want to be immortal. We are not immortal, right? We are going to die. But you want to enjoy the time you have. You want to be as functional with the time you have. You don't want to be dealing with years of pain and illness and stuff. You don't want that. You want to enjoy the time you have here. And these kind of, eating once you change your diet, add years to your life. Productive years and all that. So adding protein causes the acid, as I said, acidic environment, inflammation, and creates all these compounds in your colon that damage your blood vessels, make it easier for you now to get clogged arteries, and as I said, heart disease is the #1 cause of death. And I'm going to say it here, the very early sign of clogged arteries is erectile dysfunction. Yeah. So people come to my clinic and they want to talk. Of course, they don't want to talk about it because they're embarrassed about it. They can't have an erection. They can't maintain an erection. And the first thing, of course, we are doing is Viagra. Here you go. What Viagra does is basically just open your blood vessels to let the blood in, because the direction is basically blood and nerves. That's what's happening. But we're missing the point. The small arteries are getting clogged up, and what we need to fix is the diet, this damaging diet. That's what we need to fix, because guess what? This patient is at risk of getting a heart attack or a stroke. It's not just here your Viagra go. So lifestyle changes, I'm getting now to the foods that we really need to be focusing on. And I didn't put this first because you need to eat a lot of this. No, I'm just saying these are the kinds of foods, and they are plants. So what is available for us in terms of plants? These are legumes. So the legumes group is your beans, all kinds of beans that you like. And this is something I want to tell you about beans. Did you know they're actually the highest in fiber? They are the highest in fiber. You eat this kind of thing, 70% of Americans are constipated. Of course, we know why. They're eating all that meat and cheese that I told you doesn't have fiber. This top with fiber, top with protein. Actually, I was looking yesterday. It's comparable protein to meat, but it has much more. It has higher calcium, higher iron, and antioxidants and fiber, and none of that cholesterol. Very low. The saturated fats, when you compare, is 10 times in your meat. This has almost nothing. So those beans and chickpeas and lentils are really good. And there has been studies done on the wonder of these foods. These foods are wonderful, and they have complex carbohydrates. So when you eat these, you don't even need to add grains, because they already have complex carbohydrates and protein and vitamins and minerals and fiber. So it's a whole group. And then there's sweet peas, and then there's green peas. It's too many. And you go to the store, it costs like nothing. You buy your health for nothing. And you come and cook them. People complain about beans. Soak them overnight and cook them next day. Put them in your freezer, your fridge. Put them in salads. Put them in soups, stews, curries, whatever you want to do with it. Eat them. In fact, some doctors argue you should eat beans every day, or at least some legumes. Beans, lentils, peas, something from this group. Your whole grains is your next group. So these ones, and that's why I want to talk about the carbohydrates, because of course carbohydrates there's been a lot of misconceptions. It's the processed carbs. Of course, if you are eating white rice, white bread, white spaghetti pasta, it's not the best. You want to eat the whole grains. The brown rice, the brown breads, the whole wheat. There's so many of them, depending on, of course, we're here in America, we know what we have, but you can tell people at home, whatever they have, the whole corn, the millet, wheat, quinoa, buckwheat, there's so many of them that they can choose from. And then you have your lovely vegetables. I want to stop here, because with vegetables, you want to emphasize on the green leafy vegetables. You want to eat, all of them as much as you can, different colors, a rainbow, they say eat a rainbow. You want to make sure as much as you can to eat green leafy vegetables every day. When it comes to nutrient density, they are at the top. They're at the top. And you want to eat raw as much as you can, cooked, but raw. So spinach, kale, all those green, Brussels sprouts and stuff. Any green vegetables that you like, you're gonna emphasize on those, broccoli and stuff. But of course the other ones, because the colors, their color is given by what's called phytochemicals. That's what gives these vegetables their different colors, and they're important. And your as I said, green leafy vegetables at the top for nutrients, for antioxidants and stuff. And you want to focus, I didn't talk about the servings, but you want to focus more like 3 to 5 servings. A serving is, so you know those kitchen cups? We're not talking about the cups for drinking, the kitchen ones. So half a cup cooked vegetables is 1 serving, and 1 full cup of raw vegetables is 1 serving. So you want to aim for 3 of these vegetables. When it comes to the whole grains, you want to aim for like 3. So like half cup cooked rice or depending on what you, 1 cup. Physician's like, what? Because the things that's not, it's 1 cup, no. It's not.
Amen.
It's not the only thing you're eating. Remember, you're not just eating the rice, and those cups are not as small as you think. Just fill it up. And then when it comes to your legumes, you also want to do about 3 servings a day of those. But right now, don't worry too much about the servings. It's okay. And then your fruits. Okay, let me tell you something about the fruits. Of course, all are good. You want to eat a variety, but eat berries. Eat berries. They're at the top too for nutrients. And growing up at home, I'm telling you, we used to have berry trees everywhere. They used to fall. We didn't care about them. We went and bought oranges. I came to America, of course, from that culture. What they ate was oranges and apples and mangoes. When I started studying, because of my interest, I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm bypassing these superfoods because of my culture. So now I'm back. I'm like, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. Get some of that. As much as you can every day or like most days of the week, they're top. And blackberries are at the top. So eat your berries, eat the other fruits, and you want to aim for like 4 servings a day. So a serving is like 1 medium fruit of, let's say, like an apple or orange, and you got those like strawberry, the berries, like a cup, using those cups. But this is the thing, like, don't get bogged down too much about the servings. This is the simple way to do it. Just make sure in a day you have these 4 food groups in a day. And then what you're gonna do is eat the foods whole, right? You're gonna try to minimize really be careful how you cook them. Eat them whole. Eat until you feel satisfied, then stop. Don't overeat. Once you feel full, then just stop. Don't, of course kids, I understand. Kids can snack. We can give them snacks, healthy snacks, that's okay. But as adults, we don't need to snack. We need to give our body a break. And you don't need 3 meals a day. I'm telling you, like some of us are not working, and we are at home, and you wake up in the morning, you don't even feel like eating, but because it's breakfast, time to eat. No, listen to your body. Drink water, go walk around. You know what I mean? Go down to 2 meals a day. We have an epidemic of overeating. We're eating 3 meals a day when we don't even feel like we need to eat. And we go back home and we snack. We at work. We are bored. We get that donut. We get that muffin. We get that packed snack in those paper things. At work, I'm telling you, my patient bring me fruit, right? It will get rotten at the clinic. But somebody bring candy and those snack things, they'll be gone in no time. I will take the fruit. I was the one, I'm like, oh yeah, somebody brought fruit, I'll take all of it. I'm not even gonna give it a chance to run the clinic. They will not eat it. They have done studies. Over 60% of calories for our youngsters, our teenager age, is coming from ultra-processed foods. You know what that means? This food has no nutrients. It has no nutrients. And what the body does, because the body's smart, it asks for nutrients. It's like, what did you just give me? There's nothing here. So they keep eating, and they're eating the same food because their body's saying, I didn't get what I need. What did you give me? So they're getting over 60% of their calories from ultra-processed foods that has no nutrients. It's just sugar and fats. No wonder our pre-diabetes in our kids is now heading to 30%. But, so, you may ask, what's the evidence? Because we're talking all these things, is this just anecdotal? No, it's not. It's scientific, it has been proven. In fact, they did studies, when I was talking about the insulin resistance, they did MRI study. They checked somebody who has insulin resistant that they know and somebody who doesn't have insulin resistant, and they can see the fat inside the cells. And that's what makes a difference, right? So there's Adventist study, as I said, they love to study us because we don't drink and smoke, so that's something they don't have to worry about or factor in the study. And as I said, the lowest diabetes incidence was in the plant-based food. Those that did 100% plant-based, the lowest incidence, the lowest BMI. That's the Adventist study, and it's ongoing. It's done by Nola Melinda. They did Adventist study 1 and then the study 2. It's the China study. Dr. T. Colin Campbell went to this event. It's actually the biggest nutrition study ever done so far. Over 90% of the Chinese population was studied. And he did this China study. And to see what effect it has on chronic diseases. And we can see from cancer, from diabetes, everything. So you can check, he actually wrote a book, China study, so check it out. These doctors they're plant-based, and you see them, I mean, I'm serious, they're like 88, 70, you look at them, their body, they're slim. I mean, of course, they're practicing what they're seeing, but they look slim, and they look healthy, and they're teaching people all these things. So check out the China study. Then there's the EPIC study. EPIC study is a European study. They did a European study, and it was for cancer. That was for cancer. That also showed low incidence of cancer with more like, plant-based kind of diet. This doctor that I quoted, Dr. Bernard, so he actually has he has a medical center. It's called Bernard Medical Center, and he has a website called Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine. He runs the medical center, and he's the one who did the study comparing American Diabetic Association diet and whole food plant-based diet. So he treats his patients with this kind of diet, and they are able to get off of the medicine. There's a documentary called What the Health.
Yeah.
What the Health. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. He's featured in that in that documentary. So patient getting off of the medication and being able to reverse the diseases. So it's not a diet. It's not something you're gonna do for a few weeks and lose weight and go back. It's a lifestyle change. And you make the lifestyle change, as I said, the amazing thing with this, as opposed to something like keto diet where people are cutting out, like how long can you sustain that? This is not that. This is the kind of food I'm gonna eat. This is the protein. I'm choosing plant protein. I'm choosing, you're eating. You're not starving because you don't want to put your body in starvation. If you want to do like people do intermittent fasting, I mean, as I said, eat when you feel like you need to eat. Don't eat when you feel like you don't feel like eating. Drink water, go for a walk, do something. Intermittent fasting is okay if you say, it's good for us to pray and get your body cleansed, or do like a smoothie, whatever fast that you want to do, or waters fast. All those are fine once a week, but you don't want to, intentionally starve your body when you feel like you're hungry, you need to eat, like you're putting yourself in this. Because these foods, first of all, as I said, they don't have fat. They have minimal fat. So these foods have fat. Don't misquote me. As I said, and I missed something. When I told you about the fruits, I left out the nuts and seeds. Those are also very healthy. The nuts and seeds, but it's a handful. A handful of nuts. Don't sit down and eat a whole bag of nuts. It's a handful of nuts, 1 ounce, or a handful of seeds, whatever. You do your smoothies, add your chia seeds, flax seeds, ground them up though. That activates those, the omega-3 fatty acids. And that's something I wanted to say because that's the argument people used to eat fish. No, you don't eat fish. You don't need fish for omega-3. Get those flax seeds, chia seeds, grind them up, put them in your smoothie, do that. A handful of nuts. In fact, being plant-based, I use nuts quite a bit to make like sauce, cashew cream and stuff. You use those, but you dilute them. You don't just eat a lot of that. Or I use nut butter. Like I go to Winco, they have in the back where they have the nuts, and I just press and I want my butter because this is the thing. You check the nut butters that you get maybe like at Costco or some other place that are very creamy. It has palm oil and hydrogenated oil. So be very careful to read your labels. You make sure that it has just the ingredients you need. It has just nuts, not a lot of now hydrogenated oils and palm oils. Now you take in a healthy food and turn it into unhealthy. So your nuts and seeds, eat those. The thing is, you want to be careful again when you are losing weight because again, as I said, oil is oil, it's going to get stored. So kind of be careful when you're reversing your disease, to be careful with those, not to do too much. That way you can rapidly lose the weight. And a lot of people, I tell them, when they go on whole food plant-based diet, and they're having trouble losing weight, you might be using a lot of oil. Either you're cooking your food in too much oil, you're using too much nuts, too much, avocado as well. You can have a slice of avocado. Just be careful with those fatty foods, but they're healthy fatty foods. But now we're trying to treat a disease, so that's why I say be careful with that. Let's see what else we have. Processed foods, we talked about that. So the two nutrients that I want to talk about is vitamin B12 and vitamin D. Vitamin B12 is not made by us. It's essential, very essential for healthy nerves. It's essential for your blood cells. We don't make it. The animals that we eat don't make it. It's made by a bacteria in the soil. So the thought is, the way that our ancestors did, right, when everything was kind of healthy and, they got that carrot from the ground, they didn't wash it as much, they ate it, they got that sweet potato, whatever, they drank water from the spring, there was some soil. Vitamin B12 is needed in micronutrients. You need like 4 micrograms a day. Very tiny, right? But now in our sanitized environment, we can't really depend on that, and it's essential. So what I say, supplement the vitamin B12. Like, I use soy milk, whatever, that nutritional yeast is very high in vitamin B12, and I use that, to cook food and whatever, make like a vegan macaroni and cheese and all that. So that will give you a big dose of vitamin B12, or if you use soy milk or some other plant milk that's fortified. But get a B12, it's pretty easy, get it from over the counter, but get the smallest dose. And don't even take it every day, take it maybe every 2 to 3 days, because they make such a high dose. If you look on the bottle, it says 10,000% of our daily requirement. This is ridiculous. Or split it up, cut it up and take it. Another nutrient, vitamin D. So vitamin D, of course, we don't make it. It's maybe mushrooms and fish. Some fish have the vitamin D. Even the vitamin D, they tell us to drink in milk, they added it in the factory. It didn't naturally come in. So it's the sun. It's coming from the sun. But of course, in our Western world, in our North America region, we might not be outside when we need to be, the weather, whatever. So that's something else I can say you will need to think about supplementing. Except for those two, you will get your protein. Protein is not only in legumes or like your beans, lentils, peas. Protein is in your whole grains. Protein is in your vegetables. Did you know broccoli has a lot of protein? Spinach, all that. Your fruits have protein. So protein, there's no such a thing, honestly, as protein deficiency. There's really nothing like that. And we use this thing, to justify why people are eating all this animal food. There's no protein deficiency. You eat those foods, plant foods, as I said. Not necessarily every meal you have to have your legume, your whole grain, vegetable, and fruit, but make sure in a day that you're balancing it out and you're eating your servings as much as you can, eat your greens, eat your different, vegetables. And as long as you're intaking enough calories, that's all I would say. If you intake enough calories, your protein will be taken care of, right? So that's what you need. And plant foods are giving you all these complex carbohydrates, which is what your body needs, because when you eat simple sugar, guess what? You get that spike of sugar in your body and it crashes down, comes crashing down, gives you all this feeling, So you want complex carbohydrates because of the fiber. Fiber is the fabric that holds the nutrients in. That way your body will get it slowly. Keep everything steady and moving. So complex carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, fiber, phytochemicals, antioxidants, oils and water. Did you know? So if you think of white flour or white rice, you know what they have done? They have taken the inside part, it's called the germ, which contains oil and other nutrients, and they have taken the outside part, which contains fiber and vitamin, whatever other minerals and stuff. What they have left has starch and protein. That's what's left. They have taken the phytochemicals out, they have taken the fiber out, they have taken the oil out. And then they take these grains and then start to fortify them again. You know why they started doing that? It was for shelf life. So these things can stay longer on the shelf. Or for baking, right? They do better with baking. They rise better, all these things. So That's the reason. But I have had a lot of, the good thing with us, like we have access to the internet. And even at home, I don't think it's such a big problem. I go online and just type plant-based whatever I want. I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know what to choose. I look at it, I'm like, there's a lot of people developing recipes out here for plant-based food. And they're doing it for different reasons. They're doing it for health, for animal rights, for the environment. As I said, our environment is literally breaking down every day. We kill 70 billion animals every year to eat. And they suffer. You see these animals, you see documentaries, how some of these chickens can't even walk. They're deformed because they're too heavy. They're caged. They take the calves from the cows as soon as they produce, deliver them. That way they can have the cow produce the milk, and the cow is crying and the baby's being taken away, and they inseminate them every year so they can get the milk out. When the milk is not necessary, and the milk is making us sick. So people are doing this for different reasons, and they're developing recipes. All you need is go on your internet, go on YouTube, plant-based macaroni and cheese. Just look on the reviews. You like the reviews you're getting, but a lot of them are really good. My kids like macaroni and cheese; they love it. We even make like veggie loaf. Besides simple things, rice and beans, or soups with lentils and bean salads and all these things. We don't need to eat a lot. I don't know where we got this idea from. Like, we need to eat a lot. We don't need. Can you imagine your breakfast? You make like oats, and oats are so easy to make. Make your oats and add some spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, put sprinkles of maybe some nuts and some fruit in there. You're good to go, and make some plant milk, whatever you like to use, and some fruit. You're good to go. And something I've discovered about oats, it actually keeps you full for long. It does. Don't go for Cheerios. No, go for the real oats. In fact, you go for the steel cut if you like that chewy, or go for old fashioned, whatever. But oats, and then maybe lunch have some. I don't know what you make. For us, we like to make like this flatbread, and you can make like maybe like a tortilla or something, or do something with your beans. I know that already there are things you're doing in your culture that you are plant-based already. Go for those, and then you can start to look for fancy things like sauce to add to it, or whatever you want to add to it, lentil soups and all these grain soups, you can make barley soup, and you can tofu. I haven't mentioned about. Oh my goodness, what time is it? I told you I can keep talking. But if I'm okay, should I just continue?
Have a question I can tell from your faces.
Yeah, let me say something about tofu because it's really important. Because there's a bad rap on tofu out there that tofu causes cancer, tofu causes men to have breasts, and tofu causes premature puberty. Not true. Studies have not shown this. There was a study that was done, initially, but repeat studies, haven't shown this. And tofu is protective of your cardiovascular health. Tofu prevents prostate cancer, breast cancer, osteoporosis. Tofu protects kids. In fact, the early you start the kids with tofu, they have more protection for like breast tissue, ovarian cancer, all these things. So eat the tofu. But you want to eat whole tofu. You see all these fake meats that they sell? Honestly, I don't even buy them. I can tell you. My kids were starting to love them, and I was like, no, I don't want these things in my house. I take the tofu. There's a lot of recipes how you can marinate it and make it really sweet, sour, whatever you want to do with it. Make scrambled tofu as eggs. It's really good. You can season it to make it whatever you want, but you want whole tofu either in like tempeh, whole soy, that's what I wanted to say. In tempeh, soy milk, and sweetened. I use unsweetened soy milk, or like tofu, edamame, those kinds. Not fake meats and veggie burger. Once in a while, I'm not saying you shouldn't be extreme, right? If you're traveling, you have to do whatever you have to do. Once in a while, you treat yourself with this. That's not going to do much. It's the day-to-day, stuff that's going to make a difference. As I say, there's this Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine. They do have a 21-day Kickstart app. If you want to try it. Oh, but I didn't want to mix this up. Other lifestyle changes. So I don't want to sound like, oh, it's all diet, it's all diet. Diet is big. I'm saying that top 3 for me are diet. I don't care. Top 3 is diet. But new stuff, because we want to emphasize on what we know. As Seventh-day Adventists, we know it's exercise. You don't need a lot, 30 minutes of walking, 5 days a week. The more you do, the better. Aim for like 1 hour. Drink water. Water depends on your weight, but if you want to do the math, it's half your pounds, half your weight in pounds. That's the amount of water in ounces. So let's say, for example, you're 150 pounds, half of that is 75, so you need 75 ounces of water. But that takes care of all water, right? Soup, anything, whatever. But you want to drink more water. And then sunlight is important, not just for vitamin D, but in fact they've said vitamin D is not just a vitamin, it's like a hormone. It controls, it regulates a lot of things, your cardiovascular system, your immune system, so many other things. Of course, temperance, smoking and alcohol, that's we know that already. There's no need for me to talk about that. Drugs but caffeine is another one, so we don't promote caffeine. Even though in my own house we struggle because kids I want chocolate something. I mean the caffeine in those is much lower than like coffee or something. Clean air. This one becomes more important for people at home. Actually, let me just mention this honestly. The things they use, the firewood they used to heat, you know that it's equivalent to like 3 packs of smoking? All that firewood the women are burning inside the house? And it causing cardiovascular disease, lung disease, brain damage to the kids and all that. So we need to promote to our people that they need to adopt clean air stoves, that at least gets the smoke out of the house. And then rest. 6 to 8 hours of sleep for adults, for kids, 10 hours. Trusting God, being socially connected, don't isolate yourself for a reason. And then of course, stress management, positive psychology, all these things help. I think that's the end of my
All right, thanks a lot. I think I was watching everyone, and this is the most I've seen people pay attention, because I think the message is eating at us. And we really need to have a Q&A, because I'm pretty sure there are questions. And unfortunately today, since you have to leave, we don't have an afternoon session. So maybe, I know everyone is tired, I understand.
Yeah, we are tired.
Yes, we're tired, but
maybe. You want to do another session?
No, what I'm saying is, what do you guys want to do? Do you have questions, like maybe 10 minutes questions? Or I think everybody's saying yes.
A quick one.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need a break.
A quick one. I'm jumping into another meeting, so I just want to say we are excusing everybody for what you brought today, because I know that's going to be a problem. Like, this is what I brought, and that's Dr. Daphine giving us a lecture, telling us in a way, which is true, that what we brought is not healthy.
Yeah.
Let me just go back to where we came from.
Right.
I think the whole thing is lifestyle, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Our people back home, they live for a long time before they die, because they blend the life. They walk, they farm, they do. But because ours is different,
Yes.
that is why this is so much important. And so, so that we don't go home and say palm oil is not good. It's not necessarily that palm oil is not good, but what you do when you take in palm oil. Because if we are not careful, we will have to start fasting from now, because even before this lecture, where is Nate?
Oh no, John.
I saw him taking, because I know the wife goes and she will look at the label, because I know somebody does it. That it's like sometimes it's difficult.
Yes.
So I think maybe we'll have more sessions, more Q&As, recipes. What do we do?
Yes, I even brought, sorry, I will leave my card because I'm venturing into this fully. I do one-on-one, so I'll give you my card, that way you can contact me. I do have a
Next week.
YouTube channel that I just opened, I just need to,
Oh, Zoom.
content. It's called Lifestyle Medicine Global. So you can find me on YouTube for that. That will be our website. It just hasn't gone live yet. But I do have my cards. I'll leave it for some, so you can contact me through email, through phone, for one-on-one. If you still want to go, take this to, let's talk about what's happening with me. How do I go about this? I will do that.
And a Zoom conference, a Zoom Q&A.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you want, then we can do that. The
Like a
Zoom
Zoom,
will
yeah,
work.
we'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for now, we'll take quick, maybe 5-10 minutes. If you have a question, as Elder was saying, that this idea about even back home,
Yeah.
that okay, people exercise, they work out and all that. So maybe you can address that, because I know that's in the, because one thing I know also is that you can't compare yourself to everyone. You don't know everyone's genes. Maybe there are people back home that work hard because they walk around, they burn everything, yeah, but what about maybe you can do all that, but because of your genes and how you're set up, you can't do that. So how do you answer that to like how, even like with the China state, like they're very strong and they eat probably not as much meat as we do. So in terms of moderation, and how to take those baby steps.
Yeah, and that's the thing. All I want to say is, honestly, it depends on what you want out of this. If you want a cure, if you want a reversal of the disease, if you want to protect yourself, because as I said, even a little bit of this puts you at risk. It depends on what you want. It's a spectrum. Yes, definitely changing to eating more plants will help. But if you are sick, seriously, why would you still continue eating food that you already know is contributing to more disease, right? So you can do this, but as I said, you can take baby steps. This is not dual, like, if I can't do it, then I give up. No. So we're gonna work, towards that more plant-based as much as you can, 80, 90%, 100% plant-based, however you can do it. And then the thing is, the difference between us and rich people at home, like we say, they're also getting more diabetic. You know why? Same thing, like they have more abundance. People have more money, people have more resources, they don't walk as much. You remember at home, sometimes you used to go to church, eat 1 meal a day? You went to church, I don't know where, you ate in the morning and you came, your body went into fasting a little bit. Then whatever fat you stored, you used it. How many people do that? It's abundance, so to say. So even then, it's not really going to help them in the long run. They're still going to get these problems because they're going to store the fat. The fat is going to start causing insulin resistance and lipotoxicity. Basically, just it's not going to work for the long run because the statistics are clear that we are moving as a world. We are moving towards more obesity, more diabetes, and
It's true. It's just hard for us to change. That's the bottom line.
Okay, my sister, thank you so much.
yes,
It's very, very good
yes.
informational. Concerning the oils, the palm oil
Palm oil.
and the peanut oil,
Uh-huh.
I think the problem is the way they process it.
Right,
Back home, when we say palm oil,
right.
it's not processed. We still have the color, the beta carotene
Yeah.
in there,
Yeah,
which we know is good for us.
right,
And God made it so that when we eat it that way,
right.
we're going to get the nutrients that we need for the body.
Yeah,
But the one that you just showed is processed.
yeah,
You can't even tell if it's palm oil
Yeah.
until you see the writing.
right,
Those are the ones that we're saying they are not good.
right.
But the old fashioned, the way we eat, mommy, you put it in contomere, then you pour that on it. The contomere is Spanish, You just, you don't process it anyway.
Right,
So for that one, we promote it is good.
right,
But because of the Western world, they always they portray themselves that they are better than us, and whatever they are producing is the best way that we should buy into that.
Right.
No, the old palm oil that we know, it doesn't go through anything. You just get the fruit, and you just made it. You just make it.
People making it at home and using it.
Yes.
But how much are we using? It's also a question.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That if you're having the soup, how much do you need for you
Because
to
again,
get the nutrients from it? You
No,
need to
No, don't use it to make the stew that we used to do, you know, with that gushi and all that. Because anytime you put something, especially oil, on the stove, it doesn't matter. But you know that olive oil that we're talking about, the moment you heat olive oil, it's destroyed. You're getting cancer in your body.
Yeah.
Olive oil is meant for your salad.
Yeah.
Don't heat it, but we don't know. Africans, when I came and I heard that olive oil is good, all they say you have to get cold press, fresh press, virgin, extra virgin olive oil, cold press, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's so expensive. And my poor husband, I have to buy that. And afterwards, then I will heat it. You're killing yourself, you know. So maybe the education is very important so that we know that the oil, know which one to use, know how much you eat. And it's very difficult, you're saying, you know, because the way our food is not easy to
culture.
It's very, very challenging.
Yeah.
But I think with time, you want to enjoy life, or you want to be dependent on medication, you know, or pain, you know. So maybe with that, our husbands will bear with us so that we can.
Yeah, darling, you know, as I said, the oil, when I say the 3 top things that are contributing to your fat, number 1 is animal fat. I mean, animal food and then processed food. So, I mean, you can do, it's a spectrum of how much you want out of it. You know, there's of course even arguments about organic and inorganic, GMOs, and there's always something. Even myself, as I continue in the journey, there's always something we're working on. So, how much do you want? How much do you want to take this information? You know, it's all about that. And they say, yeah, of course, organic is better. But if you're already not eating your plant foods, any plant foods will do. Like, don't even bother yourself so much. You know what I mean? Like, it's starting to be aware. I think the awareness and starting to adjust things as much as you can.
Yeah, I think we thank you for the message, and you know, if you are somebody who is addicted to, you know, meat or fish,
Love, don't use addiction.
you know, stepping it down, you know, it's gonna be a challenge. What about maybe gradual, you know, stepping down from meat to maybe beyond meat?
Oh yes, definitely, yes.
And I think this is the last question. So some people really, okay.
Yes, okay, let me actually say that. As I said, we don't want to be extreme and feel like, I can't do anything here. Transition is important. Those veggie dogs, those impossible burgers, Beyond Meat are all important in the transition. And you know, you can do that. Definitely, it's a step from the regular burger to that one. It's still gonna help. I mean, it's oily and everything, but at least you're not having animal protein, animal fat. So go for it, but start to go more towards whole food. This is really what's gonna do it.
So that's also plant-based, right?
Yeah, the impossible burger, the Beyond burger, those ones, there's vegetables, there's other.
And a little expensive too. So
That's the thing. So that's the problem. When you do that, then you might start to see, you know, things becoming more expensive, and that's why like your beans are easy because they're super cheap, the lentils and stuff. So, but definitely use that, and then work towards whole plant-based.
And we also want to welcome our brother who came in later on.
Yes.
It's good to have you here. I understand you're an Adventist, huh? Yeah? Okay. We didn't get your name. I don't know if you want to share your name with us. Sean. Okay, Brother Sean, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So my sister, you bless us, you pray for us, and prayer will be whatever we got from this. That even if it's baby steps, let us be willing. Let us be willing because as you're saying, some of us have diseases already, right? So, you know, you have to kind of sit there and absorb the message yourself. and see where you need to take steps. And sometimes it's very challenging, as she said, it's part of our culture. And so whatever baby steps we can take for God to give us the strength, self-control, to do what we can now to take those steps. Yeah.
We'll pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. Thank you for speaking regards to your remedies that you provided for us to have a healthier, productive life, Lord. And there's a lot of information, there's a lot to be done. We ask that, Lord, you help us. What we learned here today, that we'll start to apply it, give us the strength, give us the wisdom, Lord, to be able to apply these things and see our health transform. Be with us, Lord, and guide us through this coming week. And Father, we thank you for your loving kindness and everything that you bring for us. Amen.
Amen.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we have our sister Na online, and we have a brother, Kwejo Labi, also online. You're welcome. Brother Nate, you continue on that.
All right, welcome everyone. So we're going to end here. I think we have a few announcements. Our program for the 23rd has been postponed. Or well, not postponed, but we can't.